Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the final video of the 7-day challenge. My name is Ashton. I'm the founder of Active Solutions AI, where we build what's arguably the most sophisticated conversational AI on the market. What we're doing here is we're building a 7-day challenge where you can build a business or start a business, build a business, like to the point where you have a product or service and actually sell it and get your first client in less than 7 days, or well, 7 days or less. Now, realistically, if you actually put the work in, that is very, very attainable. Now, for most people who have jobs and things that they're doing outside of this while they're trying to start their first business or maybe second business, whatever it might be, 7 days is not realistic. And I'm just being 100% honest. Now, 30 days, absolutely 100%. If you follow all the steps in this video, you are going to be able to, there's no reason why, if you allocate all the time, money, and energy that you need to make it happen, that you cannot get your first client and be on your way to building a 6-7 figure business within 30 days. So the goal obviously is 7 days. If you have no children and no job, which most people aren't in that scenario, then yes, 7 days is attainable. But let's go ahead and dive in. So the final part is going to be setting your own appointments, what to say on like the appointment setter call, and then basically getting people to that second step, which is the demo, and actually doing the demo. And I'm going to go over some basic contents. And if you guys want me to, then I can provide some scripts and stuff as well. But to be honest with you, like a script isn't really going to move a lot of mountains. A lot of sales comes from the methodology and the ideas that back up everything, and kind of like the whys, the know-hows that go into selling. So as you can probably remember from the previous video, what we'd like to do is a 2-step process. Step number 1 is an introductory call or a qualification call, and then we move them in to a demo where we actually show them what we have to offer, and then that's when we drop the price point. We try to sell them and then potentially schedule follow-up calls if they have too many objections or whatever it might be. So let's go ahead and dive in to call number 1. Now, in the previous video, if you don't know what I'm talking about, whenever I say a 2-step process, we walked through how the sales process should be structured. And that is having 2 different calendars in your Go High level. Calendar number 1 is an introduction call. Calendar number 2 is the actual demo itself. And we do a 2-step call or a 2-step process because we're trying to build rapport, and the market is a lot more sophisticated than it used to be 5 years ago. So now one call closes where you run an ad, people book an appointment, and then they show up to the demo call and you close them, are very, very, well, I should say not as common, especially for people who are beginners. The reason is because everybody's running ads. The market has become a lot more sophisticated, and you need to really take the time to build the rapport on the front end before you expect them to show up to a Zoom call. So you're just going to result in a very high no-show rate, which we do not want. So this is why we kind of ease their way into our process. Step number 1 is just them answering a phone call. That does not take as much of a time or whatever it might be. It doesn't take as much time or effort on their end as it would to show up to an actual Zoom call and turn on their camera, whatever it might be. So the first step is a phone call. We have a conversation, we build our rapport, we ask the right questions, we invite them to that second call, and then there's a significantly higher probability of them actually showing up to that second call and then you get, the opportunity to close them and make money, and our conversion rates go through the roof. So I'm going to walk through call number 1, how it should be structured. And we've set the stage up to this point anyway. So everything else that you need to do to get people to book their own first introductory call has been taken care of for the rest of the 7 days. So again, if you haven't seen those other videos, go watch them. This is how we should break down the triage. I want to pre-frame this with, I know there's a lot of people out there that have they have different methodologies that might not necessarily align with mine or might be different than mine. That's 100% okay. This is just what I've done to build a 7-figure business, and it has nothing to do with what anybody else has done. And other people's methods are going to work for sure. So just pick a method and go with it. But I seen this work very well in B2B. So to start, I call this a triage call. So this is the first step, the first call that they make it to. Number 1, the first thing we want to do before we even dive into getting this information is rapport. I like to spend a lot, not necessarily a lot of time, but I spend time on building rapport with the client. And I do that with my tonality and coming off as an actual human being. And I see a lot of people missing this whenever they start calls, especially in B2B. It doesn't matter if they're business owners, they're still humans. And the more that you can be relatable with that person, the more willing they are going to be to answer your questions. I never have issues getting on calls with people and them not wanting to answer my questions. I 99% of the time, every question I ask gets an in-depth answer because of the fact that I build the rapport and I make the person feel comfortable with me on the phone, even if it's literally, asking them where they're from, and then you tell them like a brief story about, so for example, I live in Las Vegas. Very easy for me to build rapport in the beginning of any call, right? They always have a story to tell. About the last time they were in Las Vegas, how they lost a bunch of money or whatever it might be. And then you just kind of have like a relatable conversation and have a relatable tonality and just try to be a relatable person, come off as a human being. And you can do that however you want to. And then you want to move in to the business phase of actually starting the conversation. So number one, rapport. Let them know that you're human. Once you build the rapport, you're going to want to go into the questions that you're going to start asking. So you want to basically cut off the rapport and be like, awesome. So I know you probably saw the ad and opted into it. The first thing I want to do is just find out exactly, what you do, what you're struggling with, and I'll just see if I can help. And, either way, worst case scenario, I'll just point you in the right direction if I know anybody that might be able to help, that if I can't help you in this specific case. So let's go ahead and dive in. Bam. And then you find out what the problem is. So why are we on this call, and what are the challenges that led them to actually opting in, filling out the form, and booking their own appointment, right? That's a pretty lengthy process. They're there for a reason. And some people might try to give you pushback in the beginning, but we always want to find that answer. Number two is their current efforts on that problem. So what are you currently doing to solve that, right? So if lead generation is the issue, like, I'm trouble generating leads. Okay, cool. What are you doing right now to try to get people in the door? Right. And then you figure out what their current efforts are on that problem. Notice you don't want to ask these questions too direct on that first call. One of the biggest things, in my opinion anyway, one of the biggest things that you want to do is take all of these points that you're seeing in this document and create a script that frames them in a way that you would actually ask the questions, and spend some time on this. You want to make it personable, and you don't want to make it seem like you're going through a script. It's supposed to be conversational, and that's another aspect that will make them more comfortable to answer your questions. So spend some time like crafting questions that are unique to you, your verbiage, and how you would ask them, so that it's, personable, relatable, and conversational. Okay. Next, you want to figure out their buyer's journey. So top of funnel to bottom of funnel. How are they generating leads? Understand their entire process. You want to get as much information as you can in a short amount of time as possible. Usually these calls are only 15 minutes long. So it's like you're going to get more in depth on these questions in the actual demo. But right now, we're just trying to build the rapport, get the information we need, and then move them to that second stage. We want to know if they're qualified. And then number four, numbers. Okay, current revenue, last month, goal, etc. And then doubt. Why do you think you are still in this position? You've been doing X, Y, and Z for the last year, like you said. Like, what do you think is holding you back? And notice my tonality whenever I ask that question. What do you think is holding you back? That's crazy. You tried all these things and nothing's worked out. You've worked with 3 agencies. Where do you think they dropped the ball? Questions like that. And then they're going to open up more and more and more. The more that you seem like a little curious about like why they're in that position, like, that's weird. Those are going to give you really good answers. Another thing you want to do, here's a little tip. Whenever you're asking questions, don't always give suggestions. A lot of people tend to naturally give suggestions. Like, for example, they'll say like, what are you doing right now to get leads? Like, are you running ads on Google PP or Google? Are you doing PPC? Are you running Facebook ads? Like, what are you doing? Notice how after I asked the questions, I gave a bunch of suggestions. So now the answer that they are going to have is influenced by the suggestions that I gave. You'll get better answers to your questions if you ask the questions and then you shut up. What are you currently doing to generate leads right now? Stop. And then every answer that they give you, all the information that they give you, is coming directly from their head and not from your suggestions that you're putting out there into the universe. We want information from them, because the more informations we get that are unique, or answers that we get that are unique to their problem and situation specifically, the more we're going to be able to cater the pitch specifically to what they're trying to do in the future. And a lot more of this will be playing a role on the demo. But again, we're just trying to quickly get information. Okay, so why do you think you're still here? How long have you been doing this, or how long have you been in this situation, and what have you done to fix it? And then actually, you don't always have to ask the support question, but it's nice. Like, are you a lone wolf, or is anyone else helping? Basically asking if they're working with if they have a business partner, wife, spouse, whatever it might be. Desire, what's the long-term goal? Where are you trying to get to, right? And then tie down. So at the end of the call, when you're inviting them to that second call, we don't want them to no-show. So one of the things we do is I always like to make a joke. I'd be like, believe it or not, some people suck. Would you agree? And they'd be like, yeah, I've encountered some sucky people in my life. Cool. So this is how I frame it. So believe it or not, some people suck. Okay, cool. And just yesterday, I had a great conversation with this guy. He said he was going to be there on time, completely ghosted me. Wow. Has that ever happened to you? If they're running a business, they've probably been no-showed before. Yes. So just want to make sure that this time, it's like throwing a little giggle, whatever it might be. Just want to make sure that this time 100% works for tomorrow, because I don't. And then usually they'll like take a step. They'll be like, hey, you don't got to worry about that with me. I'm going to respect your time, right? So, and then they start associating an identity with what you've just said. And this works. I mean, we have a 90% show rate, which is absolutely ridiculous. But this works very, very well. You're making them associate themselves with an identity of a person that can be trusted. And they don't want to break that. Once they kind of like step in to fill those shoes, you talk about how the person you talked to yesterday, even if it didn't happen, you had a great conversation with them, and then they no-showed your appointment. You ask them if they ever had a no-show. Of course they have. And then you just ask them, tie them down that they are going to be there, or they are going to answer the phone at the time that they say. And then they will kind of fill the shoes themselves. They'll be like, hey, I respect your time. I hate it when people do that to me. 100% get it. I'm going to be there. Don't worry. Unless something comes up, I'll let you know ahead of time. And this will significantly increase your show rates. You can do this identity play with a lot of things too. Just in general, making people associate an identity with themselves that they want to upkeep after the fact. So, for example, this person saying that no, not that type of person, wouldn't do you like that, and then they feel obligated to be that type of person for you because they told you that. They're going to look super stupid if they no-show after they say something like that. So this is what we call the tie down. It's a really good way to do it. Always use the identity play when you tie down, and it will increase the likelihood that they show up to that next appointment. I promise. So that concludes the initial triage, or that first step. And then we're going to go into the actual demo or the sales call. All right, so now you've successfully conducted the qualification or introduction call, and then we're going to, and we've invited them to the demo, and now we are on the demo. Now, the first and most important thing I want to leave everyone here with is, if you've ever walked away from a sales call and you felt like you did a really shitty job, like you walked away and you're like, there was just something about that, I did not do a good job, and you felt it, like you felt the negative energy on the call, whatever it might be, it's probably because you did not have, actually, it is because you did not have enough information from the discovery phase to put a pitch together and cater it to the prospect specifically. 90% of the time we walk away from sales calls and we do not feel confident that the person is going to come through, and we know we're never going to talk to them again, is if you did not understand the needs of the prospect enough. So when you walk into the sales call, instead of thinking about, let me follow this script, first of all, you should, whatever script that you put together for yourself, you should know like the back of your hand. You should not, by the time you start attending sales calls, you should not have to have the script pulled up. You should know what questions you need to ask, and you should have the entire script memorized. You should be woken up from a dead sleep and be able to recite the script like it's nothing. You do not want to have to remember what you have to say. You want to be able to rely off your own personality and your uniqueness, your tonality, your demeanor, etc. And you want to use those to your advantage. And the more that you have to stop and try to remember or think about or read from a script, the less you're going to be able to leverage the actual personable skill sets or personal skill sets that you have that are going to move the sale forward. So number one, get the script down. And number two, understand the problems of the prospect. So when you go into each call, you should address it. You should think to yourself, okay, how can I help this prospect make the best decision to the best of my ability? And it's going to help you ask the right questions. So, a couple of things. Number one, the purpose here is to ensure that you gather sufficient information from the prospect to tailor the pitch effectively and address their specific pain points, because your pitch is no longer a cookie cutter pitch. Okay, you have a template that you want to follow and you want to make sure that you're hitting key points. But the biggest thing is your entire pitch and your entire solution is catered to the specific problem of the prospect. So it's no longer, we're going to do X, Y, and Z so that you can, because we teach people how to make $10,000 a month. It is now, we're going to teach you how to do X, Y, and Z so that you can go on that vacation with your family that you told me about, how you've been wanting to go to Hawaii for the last 5 years and you couldn't ever since you started the business because you haven't been able to break the $5,000 a month barrier. And now you have 3 children and you just haven't been able to really get yourself over that line, right? So your pitch is now catered to their specific problem as opposed to your $10,000 a month guarantee that you have on the offer. And that's just an example of how you would cater your solution to their problem specifically. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, the success of the sales call largely depends on the depth of understanding of the prospect's business, industry, and challenges, which means there are a lot of questions that we have to ask, and not all of them are going to be in a script, because you're going to have to learn how to probe into you're going to have to learn how to find probing questions that are kind of out of the blue that come to you that are important based on the responses that they give. So a lot of this is conversational and in practice. A lot of the exercises that I like to do with salespeople is we'll just throw them into a conversation and see how deep you can get. Just go back and forth. It's kind of like a role play, but instead you're probing on one specific problem to see how deep you can get on that problem without following a script necessarily. And the better you get at that, the better questions you're going to have. And again, like I said earlier in the video, you want to try to ask more open-ended questions so that you're getting like 100% of the information that you're getting. Instead of making suggestions on what they should answer, 100% of the information is coming from their brain and it's exactly what they're thinking. That's going to help you move the sale forward as well. Okay. All right. So some of the information that we're going to have to get to make sure that we have all of the ammunition that we need is business background, understand the prospect's business, the industry, the market position, industry trends, familiarize yourself with current trends, challenges in the prospect's industry. So this is actually initial research that you want to do going into the call as well, so that you have a certain level of understanding of exactly what you're going to need to ask. And it's just going to give you a leg up in the sales call. And then customer avatar. Have an idea of what their avatar is going to look like. You're going to ask them this on the call as well to see what they think, but you do want to have your own perspective when you're going into this. All right. Now, the most important part of the call is going to be the discovery phase. This is where you want to gather as much detailed information about the prospect as possible. Here's the reason why, and I'll go into this a little bit more later too. All the information that you get is kind of like ammunition to move the sales call forward. And again, whenever I talk about it this way, I don't want it to seem like you're not actually helping the prospect. You're helping them make the best decision for them. So if you genuinely feel like it's not the right solution, then don't sell them. I don't believe in trying to sell people that we're not going to help. But you want to use this as ammunition, because a lot of times, especially if people need the solution, they're going to bring up objections that are contradictory to what they've stated earlier in the sales call. And the more information that you have, the more contradictions you're going to be able to find in the conversation that you're having later on. And that's going to help you significantly when you're handling the objections. People contradict themselves a lot because they talk about all this information. They talk about the type of person that they are, the type of person that they want to be, and what they're willing to get, or what they're willing to do to get it. And then you get to the end and they start contradicting themselves and dancing around once the price point is dropped. And you have to be comfortable with testing the individual as a person on being the person that they said they're going to be. So throughout the discovery phase, you're also going to be assigning, or you're going to have them assign an identity to themselves, which is going to help continue to move the call forward as well. So number one, business overview. What does the business do? Which industry do you operate in? And you could take this information and structure your own script. Again, it should be in your own unique words. Ask the questions how you would ask them. These are just bullet points to follow, key points you need to cover, and answer, or questions that you need to get answers to. So what does the business do? Which industry does it operate in? Who is the ideal customer? The current challenges. So what specific problems are you facing? What have you done so far to address those issues? Buyer's journey. You need them to describe the entire breakdown of the process. So not like the intro call where you're just like briefly answering, how do you generate leads? X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be. You really want to get detailed. So how do you generate your leads? What lead sources are you generating leads from? What right after the lead is generated, where are they going? Do you use a CRM? Do you have organized pipeline stages within the CRM? Who are they talking to first? How fast are you reaching out to the contact when they come into the system? If they don't pick up, do you have a follow-up system? You need all of the answers to these questions. Do you have a one-step or two-step process? Do you take them straight to a demo call? Is it, if it's a brick and mortar business, then are you just inviting them in to the facility so to conduct your sales call there, etc. And then break down their sales process as well. So like, do you have a script that you follow? Do you just kind of wing it? Do you have sales people? How big is your team, etc. Performance metrics. What is your current revenue? What is your profit margin? How long have you been experiencing these financial figures? Now, if you do a good job at first, you want to come off as a professional, right? So build a rapport in the beginning, and then in the beginning, do a good job at asking these top questions and probing along the way. And again, those probing questions need to be specific to the answers they're giving you in the conversation. Then all of the performance metrics should come easy. They should not have any pushback on giving you what their revenue numbers are. And they might lie. A lot of people are going to lie to you on this beginning call. And this is kind of one of the areas where you can find their contradictions earlier in the call before you actually drop the price. I've done this many times. People always want to lie about their revenue and their profit margins. I don't know why. So revenue, profit margins, how long, what were you doing a year ago in revenue? What are you doing right now? What do you want to be doing in revenue? And then identifying pain points. So isolate the core problems the prospect is facing that your solution can address. So what are the primary pain points in your current process? I wouldn't use the word pain points. This is just like, we want to get their pain points. So I would structure your own questions to find what these pain points are. How do these issues impact your business's overall performance? Have you tried any solution before? If so, what were the results? So when the pain point questions are going to be like, basically how these types of things or decisions are impacting their personal life, maybe, right? So the things that they've done, why are they able to do the things that they want to do via the position that they're in? Okay, so after we cover the entire discovery phase and we've gotten all the information that we've needed, so 1 through 5 or 6 here, it comes to the second most important part about the call, which is tailoring the pitch. Now, again, the pitch, you kind of want to gather this picture in your head of all of the information that you've taken, and then you're going to transition to the pitch, and you're going to you should have this pitch down to a T. Again, you should be woken up in the middle of the night and have no problem reciting this pitch. The difference is you're going to take all the verbiage that you use and the actual whatever you have in the script of your pitch, and you're going to shift it in the middle of the call to cater it specifically to the problems that you have not only addressed, but that you've discovered during the discovery phase. And I gave examples on that before, but you want to summarize all of your key findings, highlight the main pain points and challenges identified, present the solution. So explain how the conversational AI solutions can specifically address their problems, provide examples or case studies, relevant to their industry. That's always important. But the biggest thing is making it custom. Your entire solution is now custom to the problem that they're having. And it seems like it's a perfect solution based on this. But the biggest thing about this specifically that is going to get you sales 100% is master your discovery and master catering the pitch specifically to their problems.